I got 2 words for you. Cat girl visual novel. I know, right? I'll call you right back. I got another call coming in. Mattercrafter, what's going on?
Hey Matty, Outcast is finally ready for release. Would you please play and review it?
Buddy, we've known each other a while. You've seen my videos.
Yes, and do not hold back. I want the full treatment. Mattyd on the MacDaddyMatty channel.
And this is my frank and unfiltered review of the Doki Doki Literature Club mod, Outcast, a Yuri mod. But it isn't. Despite being touted as a Yuri mod, this is actually a deep and poignant examination of Natsuki, her school and family life, and the social and moral ramifications of the sundry trope, as applied in the medium of an episodic visual novel. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. It's totally a Yuri mod. A long-anticipated Yuri-dedicated romance mod where you get to date and revel in being in a relationship with Yuri, everyone's most favorite bookish wallflower dandery Doki. There are no other routes, and all of the other characters play supporting roles in the very focused Yuri main character story. Now, when I first played Doki Doki Literature Club, I went down the Yuri route, so even though I'm 100% all Doki best Doki, with a healthy adoration towards being a Monacan, Yuri has had a very special place for me since day one, so I'm always on the lookout for a good Yuri route. So, what did you think, Matty? Great question, Evil-Matty. Thanks for asking. Outcast is a very pleasant and well put together telling of one author's vision of a Yuri route. There are a lot of smiles and tender moments, including very clever lines that indicate some real talent on the part of the writer. Other than a couple of places, there's nothing really that's going to knock your socks off, as for the most part, the story is presented in a very mundane and slice-of-life fashion. But that's okay, I found myself really enjoying a sweet and humble telling of an extremely Yuri-centric story. Moments with Yuri are pleasant, tender, and respectful of her. I finished it in a day, so it's not very long, but it's surprisingly packed full of original extras, custom graphics, voice acting, original music, and even a bit of lewd if you swing that way, which you can turn off if you don't. So the bottom line up front is that I found playing Outcast to be pretty delightful, so it's an easy recommend on the Mattyd list, as a simple, sweet Yuri romance route. But that's not why you're here, is it? Oh no, you're here because I'm the guy that can find ways to critique and suggest improvements to anything. Anything. Oh, and this is very important. The safe word is So this video does have spoilers, all of them in fact, so make sure you play Doki Doki Literature Club, and then play the Outcast mod before watching any more of this video. So go, and then come back. Oh, and I should say that I am a huge fan of tea. I really like tea, but I've yet to find an oolong that doesn't taste like tree. Not one I like anyway. It probably would be better if I put sugar or honey in my tea, but I don't. Because I'm sweet enough already.
You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
Principally, Outcast is a very, very sweet mod, and Yuri is definitely portrayed in a very, very sweet manner, as a very, very sweet girl, and you get to spend a lot of very, very sweet time with her. The other Dokis are also extremely sweet, and the main character is a decent, well put together, very, very sweet, sweetie sweetheart of a sweet guy. Did I mention the mod is sweet? Because it's tremendously sweet. Seriously, I think this mod is giving me diabetes sweet. I've actually been of two minds as to how to write this discussion. On one hand, and for the most part, the mod is a very pleasant Yuri dating simulator, so I was initially focusing the discussion to be much like my video of Doki Doki Literature Club, the normal visual novel review. But on the other hand, Outcast has a very dark and unsettling, very bad ending, tucked away behind a player choice. And because of the seriousness of those consequences, it deserves scrutiny and a deeper examination.
I, Mattercrafter, agree to butthurt.
Yes, you did. So here we go. Outcast presents an overall pleasant Doki universe, with Yuri being its odd duck. It takes the canon Doki Doki Literature Club universe and strips away much of the nuance and intricacies, leaving everything outside of Yuri and main character a vanilla-ized version of the world, with a modified canon Act 1 and then a brand new Act 2 and 3. Much of Act 1 is also chopped away and reduced to its bare bones, keeping only the Yuri events, and even those having some subtle and not so subtle changes. There's no poem games, although there is a noteworthy nod to them that made me want to high-five the author. We first meet Yuri when we run into her, literally, in the hallway after school. It's a very cute and original scene. A pleasant moment that hints to us Outcast Yuri is a bit different than the canon Yuri. Still the trademark social awkwardness, but much of her shyness seems absent. The complexity and nuance of the other characters and story is totally streamlined from the canon game. Both the skeleton of Act 1 and the other Doki's personalities appear presented in this manner as a way to focus getting the player into Yuri's path and onto the relationship very quickly. It makes Act 1 feel a little rushed, but not in a way that breaks the flow or anticipation, so that wasn't a concern. It very much does, however, leave everything outside of being with Yuri feeling very thin, which on the surface should not be an issue in a total Yuri mod, right? Right? I'll get to that in a bit. So because Yuri has markedly less shyness, she approaches us several times and initiates conversations. And all of our encounters with her are much smoother than I expected them to be, especially early on in our discovering each other and in the early stages of our relationship. So as I discussed in an earlier video, there's basically 3 types of romance routes you'll encounter in a dating sim style visual novel. Pursuit, you chase her all game. Capture, you get her right away and then work out relationship issues. And the hybrid, a healthy portion of both the pursuit and the capture. Outcast is a capture route. Very quickly we find ourselves in a modest but serious relationship with Yuri. So let's explore this a little bit. A capture route is, in my humble opinion, the hardest to write and keep interesting, as you already have the girl, so the problems that arise are either from within or outside of the relationship, and it's easy to fall into the standard contrived situations or portray the relationship as high maintenance. Add to this that the hardest thing for a writer or a game to do is quantify the value of the story's moments. It's a real talent to balance the work and turmoil that the player or audience faces to the appropriate level of reward that's obtained through that work. If the work is an excessive grind, only the extreme masochist will enjoy it. If it's too easy, most players will not appreciate the game's peaks, and some may even bore and leave. Good news is, Outcast does a pretty good job with this, at least for the most part in the writing of the capture route. Now, it's a hard capture with Yuri. The relationship is pretty solid from the get-go, not a soft capture, where we get her but then still have a road of worry yet to travel, with concern she'll suddenly get herself twisted up emotionally and run away from us, even as a temporary measure. And I found myself missing that less well-adjusted canon Yuri. Outcast Yuri is less unpredictable than she is in canon. The shyness is there but hinted at, and offered as a cute aspect of her personality and less of a crippling social anxiety. In the festival prep scene when she comes to our room, Yuri doesn't try to go through our stuff. And when we cut our finger with the knife, she doesn't unexpectedly put our finger into her mouth and suck on it. Wait, what? Are you serious? There's no finger sucking scene? What the? Of the 3 best parts of canon Act 1, 2 of them involve finger-licking good sucking scenes. Damn, I mean, I was disappointed there weren't more finger-sucking scenes in the canon game. Oh my. But seriously, I miss that scene because it's a quintessential Yuri. An unexpected, belligerent sexual tension out of nowhere. That clumsy and endearing intrinsic aspect of her that mixes her innocence and impulse, her apprehension and obsessiveness, and her pensiveness and passion in a surprisingly smooth manner. That personally captivated me and was one of the core aspects that hooked me onto Doki Doki Literature Club to begin with. Or it could just be that I prefer a bit of pursuit with my capture. But to me it felt like it was a little too perfect, as even though it's a capture-style route, something very unusual with a Dandere, it felt like there was no real work involved. Me and Evil-Matty both would have liked to have taken a bit more time with chasing Yuri, even after the capture, in order to savor that discovery. Here's an example. Main character and Yuri say, "I love you" very early in the relationship, like 3 days in. That's great, but then we've kind of peaked. So maybe the first time it's said is a little later on, and at a less expected moment. Like when main character is sick and being cared for by Yuri in Act 2, she's been there all day long caring for him, it gets late, she's gotta go, and main character blurts out, "Thank you, Yuri. I love you," surprising himself and Yuri, creating a great awkward moment where they both freeze and stare wide-eyed at each other. Main character in his 6th state suddenly sobered, very concerned, and Yuri looks terrified. They stare, shocked. Then, not knowing what to do, Yuri hugs main character, and then runs out. She's crying a little, and main character's fretting. What did I do? What's up with the relationship? Yuri is scared, but she's also happy, and she wants to be happy. And later on, she texts main character, "I love you too," giving main character that relief. We could even have had one of those cool voice-acted scenes where Yuri's in her bedroom struggling with what she should be texting to main character. As well, in this scenario, Yuri has said it, but only in text, so there's still room to peak with a later scene where she has to screw up her courage in order to confess her love in person. I like builds like this, as they help advance both the story and the relationship. They create moments of reward for the work leading up to them, and invest the audience deeply into the characters. One place the mod does a great job of actually capturing Yuri, I thought, was the moment at the bottom of the stairway when she's not sure about how to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and she asks if we can hold hands. It's so cute. It's so cute. What a good scene. But the easy mode with Yuri is disarming and a little nefarious, as there are very dire consequences to making bad decisions in Outcast. Not that it's hard to make all good decisions. Again, this mod is focused towards Yurians who will make the right choices. But there are a couple of choices that abruptly determine if you get the good, the bad, or the very, very frickin' bad ending. So, overall, Yuri has her idiomatic and attractive awkwardness. It's just dialed back. She's no longer her own worst enemy. The hate-sync character Clyde gets to play that role. Now, before we get into Clyde, let's get lewd. To be honest, lewd and Doki Doki Literature Club, it's not my cup of oolong tea, but I'm not here to judge. Oh wait, I'm totally here to judge. That's my shtick. You bunch of sexualizing the Doki perverts, put your pants back on. You too, Michelangelo's David. Actually, you can leave them off. Nice glutes. I don't know, I guess I'm just in a camp that there's plenty of loot out there, and keep your depravity off of something this wholesome. And Outcast gives you the option to turn it off. Not that I did. I'll be in my bunk. And I'm back. You know, Evil-Matty, I think you're being hard on this mod. Ha, you said hard on. Yes, Evil-Matty, that's funny, but still. Well, Slightly Less Evil-Matty, is there a point you'd like to make? There is. As I said, this mod is packed full of original extras. Music, voice acting, custom graphics. Really good stuff that goes a long way to help draw the player into an immersive and touching story. But back to the lewd, the one thing I would recommend is give the audience the option to turn the lewd on or off in the settings, and offer the option at the start of the game. As it is, by giving the option to see or not see the lewd right before it happens, you're spoiling the surprise of the lewd. Much like all things, the anticipation is what adds excitement. And if it was an option at the very beginning, then with the audience immersing into the suspension of disbelief, it would, on a conscious level, make them forget it's on the way, making that scene much more exciting as a surprise when it does happen. So, as nothing of the other Dokis is extemporaneous, for the sake of character building, and all their actions and dialogue are plot dedicated and pointed, it got to where the dialogue between main character and the other Dokis felt very twee, and a little surreal. Not Uncanny Valley level of surreal, but at times the level of polite borders on cavity-inducing. Even at the very beginning with the "I let you catch up" line to Sayori, she doesn't respond with her meanie, but instead an "I guess that's true." What? I found that to be a bit odd in a Stepford Wives and "what the hell have you done with my Sayori" kind of vibe. But more importantly, having the other Dokis issue free took away from the rest of the game. And here's what I mean. The other Dokis are concentrated to what can best be described as a cheerleading squad for main character and Yuri. They have flat arcs, denoting that the way they are in their very first scene is the same as they are in the very last scene, with no change or development along the way. Sayori has absolutely no issues and is a bubbly buddy, full of happiness, positive wishes, and sound advice. Monica is squared away, self-secure, and a good solid club leader. Natsuki is high energy, and only has the occasional outburst, which outside of Canon Act 1 are teasing or being annoyed, and often factors into the plot in some fashion. I mean, Natsuki is still rough around the edges, but it's more bratty and less misdirected inner conflict. So since everything is so saccharine, and the Dokis are so well adjusted, the time with Yuri is nice, but not escape to a better place from all the chaos and strife in everyday world nice, which it could have been. As it is, the dates are wonderful, don't get me wrong. Getting to be with Yuri, even in simple settings and companionship of reading and spending time together is great, and brought many smiles. But there just isn't that much contrast between the dates and the club. By having more chaos and disjointing in the club, outside of the alone time with Yuri, it would have made that time with Yuri different and better than the club, and therefore it would have been greater anticipation for it, and appreciation of it, as an escape to a much more pleasant atmosphere with Yuri. Main character is the bomb. No, not da bomb. The bomb, like solve, like a healing cream. Yuri gets upset, we say some nice stuff, mollify her with genuine honesty and a little flattery, and she feels better. Great, but. No, not great, but. Well, yeah, great, but. Alright, fine. Yuri gets upset, we say some nice stuff, mollify her with genuine honesty and a little flattery, and she feels better. Solid. Except the one time we don't. And here we get to deal with the game's antagonist, Clyde, a bully and douche of master hand level adversary. He's always lingering in the shadows, and we seek no respite to his villainy. Now let's talk about proportional response. Proportionate response is, something happens and the reaction is on par with the degree of the something that happened. Natsuki is a great example of disproportionate response, often overreacting negatively or aggressively to something that happened, easily justified by the characteristics of their tropes and personal issues. Where it gets tricky is when main character displays an action or reaction that is a logical anomaly to the something that happened, as the main character has a level of self-insert on the part of the player. And unless the reactions are balanced to the something, we wander into the murky waters of main character visual novel syndrome. So, Yuri has a fight with Natsuki, runs out of the club room, we find her on the bench, we soothe her, and we bring her back to the club room. Yuri freaks out at the festival and runs out of the club room. We find her at the bottom of the stairs. We soothe her and hold hands and bring her back to the club room. The one time we don't work our chase find panacea main character magic is when she gets pushed into the fountain. Arguably the time she needs us the most. And we don't go after her because... Okay, your girlfriend gets pushed into a fountain and runs off in tears. You go get her and take her home, for fuck's sake. You make that long, uncomfortable, and silent walk with her, where there's not much you can do to make her feel better, but you're there for her. This is basic shit. Right after, look both ways before crossing the street.
Never get involved in a land war in Asia.
And never, ever, ever masturbate with Muscle Rub.
Ow, my butt hurt.
No, I don't know why they call it Muscle Rub if you're not supposed to. Just trust me on this last one. And I really don't know why main character stands there and watches her leave. Plot device? Nah. Okay, if in a story you're unable to fully develop a good reason to justify to the player why the main character doesn't do something he probably should, then the solution is to take the choice out of the character's control. Here's an example. When Clyde knocks Yuri into the fountain, main characters should start to go after her, only to be stopped by a teacher, who only heard the splash and saw Yuri run off. It would also be appropriate for main character to knock Clyde on his ass, a bit of justice for the player and an aftermath of which would satisfy keeping him from going after Yuri. The teacher detains Clyde and main character, where Clyde makes a big show of claiming it was an accident, which causes main character to act the fool, resulting in Clyde being released and main character being detained longer and receiving a lecture from the teacher, or detention in case of knocking Clyde on his ass. Then as main character is about to go see Yuri, Natsuki shows up, main character explains what happened, and bang, decision tree to go after her or not right there. Or have main character go after Yuri, catch her, and Yuri say, no, I need to be alone, forcing main character to be unable to go with her, and then pick up the mod at the next scene. Any of these would take the choice out of the main character's hands, and justify the story's tactical positioning to put the player at the crossroads of this very critical decision tree moment. As it is, I was kind of scratching my head wondering why he didn't go after his girlfriend the one time she really needed him. What a douche. You know, Evil Matty, you make some good points, but I still think you're being a little hard on this mod. You said little hard on. Yes, Evil Matty, I sure did. It's still funny. Yes it is, but come on. Well, Slightly Less Evil Matty, is there something you'd like to make a point about? Thanks for asking. Yes, there is. Outcast has some really terrific hidden gems if you're paying attention. The scene with the burning scented candles is nice, but more importantly, it's subtle, as a nod to Yuri's love of aromatherapy. As well, there's salutes to the canon game, specifically the Sayori discovery scene and Yuri canon seppuku weekend scene in the very bad ending. And it's the little things like this, tying into the canon game, in an indirect and delicate manner that really hooked me. I've seen mods that are too blatant and overt, trying to tie in the canon references, and it feels kind of cheap when they do that. Outcast does a very good job of using the tie-ins in a covert manner that supports the story and doesn't subvert it. One of my favorite scenes in this game is meeting with Miss Ating after class, where she gives us back the term paper and she confides to main character. It's not just a good piece of work, but it's also one that touched her emotionally and poignantly. It's sweet, but moreover it's real and honest. A candid moment where the characters and story become genuine. It was that scene that got me. And it happens at a moment when main character is dealing with anxiety at not being more for Yuri. I almost expected main character to take that essay over to Yuri's, throw pebbles at her bedroom window till she opened it, and then read that essay up to her. I think the reason I was such a fan of the Miss Ating scene, and why I'm still thinking about it, is because it's a great metaphor for Yuri. She is someone we have an attachment to, and enjoy the moments we've gotten to have with her. But she's in a world we can only visit, and the great happiness is always accompanied by a melancholy sense of distance. But mostly, we're better for knowing her. But not just Yuri, also Doki Doki Literature Club. For all the people we've met and become friends with through Doki Doki Literature Club, and for all those moments we've gotten to share together. All of it emotional, lasting, and poignant. And that's good stuff. Nice one. Head pat.
But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
Heat water to 200 degrees? What the fuck? Oolong should be brewed between 180 and 190 degrees, and black and herbal teas should be brewed between 208 and 212 degrees. Wait a minute, this is canon stuff. God damn it, Dan Alvato. The game is ruined. That's it, I'm out. No, I'm going to play Attack Helicopter Dating Simulator now. 200 degrees, what a bunch of savages.
I'll cut it.
Beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful.
As always, I'm looking for new stuff to play and review. The best stuff I've played has come from recommendations, so let me know. And check out our new website, MacDaddyMatty.com. I'm Mattyd, Evil Matty D.
Oh god, my butt hurt.